Hello, Internet. I'm Doc Awesome, and this is my review of The Outer Worlds. My very favorite type of video game are the ones that make you feel like you're a character walking around inside a novel. Games like Bethesda's Elder Scrolls and Fallout, or BioWare's Mass Effect series. Games that just drop you in the middle of a fascinating world full of stories to explore. The Outer Worlds is very much that type of game. The latest RPG from Obsidian Entertainment feels like it was made specifically for me. A dialogue-heavy, character-driven sci-fi space adventure. It was Fallout in space. It was Firefly, the video game. Once I had my own spaceship with a sassy AI pilot, I was hooked. All throughout the game, the writing is top-notch. Even the most tedious fetch quest, of which there are mercifully few, will still begin with a fun character that has something interesting to say. The Outer Worlds boasts a charming cast of companions. From the space pirate medic to the wayward vicar, you will recruit comrades that are just as interesting to talk to as they are useful in combat. You'll learn a lot about them, not just on their loyalty missions, but also when they chime in as you wander the world. If you bring a local with you, they will provide background details on the place you're visiting and its culture. Once, as I was about to enter a canyon on Monarch, Nyoka stopped me to let me know this place was known as the Road of Death, or something to that effect, and that there was no shame in taking the long way around. Companions will chat and argue with each other out in the field, and even interrupt conversations with other NPCs if they have something to add. Getting to know them is one of the game's greatest delights. I just wish there was more of it.
Happy to help. That's my job, after all.
Companions don't have much new dialogue after you complete their quests, and you don't really get the rewarding Mass Effect loop of going back to the ship to hear what everyone has to say after you finish a mission. The crew only has a small number of canned interactions back on the ship, and it's not long before they start repeating. After a while, I stopped returning to my ship except for when I had to travel to another planet. In my estimation, the ship is the biggest missed opportunity of the Outer Worlds. It never really feels homey like Serenity on Firefly. Once you've exhausted the dialogue there, it just becomes a hub world you visit between main story missions. Those story missions are really well crafted. Conflicts are rarely as simple as they appear, often involving many different perspectives. Characters are complex and layered. Your first impressions are frequently proven wrong. The company man is not a mustache-twirling villain, nor is the rebel fighter some noble hero. When I first met Sanjar, I had him pegged as just another corporate yes-man. And while that is an aspect of his character, over time I learned there was much more to him than that. He was basically some dude from accounting who stayed behind to try and keep civilization from collapsing when the corporations pulled out of Monarch. Sanjar was not just jockeying for the promotion he felt he so richly deserved. He also wanted to help the people who had been left behind. The fact that he found the driest, dullest, paper-pushingest method to save the day was oddly charming. Of course, Sanjar would defeat corporate politics with their greatest fear, meticulous documentation. This guy made me roll my eyes the first time I heard him speak, but by the time we resolved the whole Monarch dilemma, he was one of my favorite non-companion characters. But while the story and characters are some of the best you'll find in any video game, the actual game parts are not quite as impressive. In this respect, The Outer Worlds really suffers in comparison to Borderlands 3, which came out just a month prior and did almost all of these things better. Combat feels slow and janky, and while tactical time dilation proved more useful than VATS, encounters are ultimately hollow and forgettable. Enemies are generic bandits or monsters with little distinct personality. Some even blend into the environment, making them difficult to see. And strategic thinking is not really a requirement. The shooting is serviceable but never really fun. Encounters unfold more like flailing slap fights than epic battles. I found myself tolerating the combat so that I could get back to the conversations and story developments that held my real interest. Guns are similarly indistinct, except for the wacky fun of the science weapons like the shrink ray. The same goes for every item in the game. All of it feels redundant and useless. None of it is special. I'll grant that perhaps this is thematically derived, every item being a mass-produced corporate product, but it means you stop picking things up halfway through the game. Unless it's ammo or a heal, you don't need it, and it isn't interesting. The UI is also a nightmare of clunky design decisions. Hard to read, difficult to navigate, unintuitive to use, and better off avoided once you reach the point you stop picking up new items. You will spend a lot of time in the inventory menu trying to figure out what the hell you just did and how you can undo it. It never got easier. It was still just as difficult to compare two pieces of equipment at the end of the game as it was at the beginning, just a lot less important. Although I enjoyed my time in The Outer Worlds, these flaws did significantly hold it back. In a narrative-driven game full of big decisions and branching paths like this one, I usually like to do at least 2 playthroughs. First time through, I'm the scoundrel with a heart of gold and high charisma stats, able to talk my way into and out of almost anything, but still quick with a pistol when words fail. I pass all the speech checks and achieve the most positive ending available. On my second play, I try to build the most savage villain this fictional universe has ever seen. Someone not terribly bright, but so physically powerful they bend the world to their will. Unfortunately, playing this forcefully requires engaging more with the lackluster combat system, and I soon found myself unable to care if my little psychopath could burn down all of Halcyon. It just wasn't worth all the effort again. If you take nothing else from this review, let it be this. The Outer Worlds is a great story in an okay game. Despite its mechanical shortcomings, I can still wholeheartedly recommend you play it. I certainly enjoyed it, and I think you will too. Anyway, that's my review for The Outer Worlds. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button, subscribe, hit the bell to get notified. I will see you on the next Doc Awesome video.
I don't need to see your identification. Move along.